Okay, everybody, welcome to the end of the energy bus. This has been so great because we've been able to do this in 3 weeks, and it was easy because it was such a fun, easy, heartfelt read. So this week, we start at chapter 26, which is about loving your passengers. Anybody have any thoughts that they would like to share about loving your passengers? And really it digs into loving your team and making sure you love your team. And I know George, the main character, had some questions at first about like, how do you love your team? How does love fit in with business? I feel like in our business, we don't have to struggle with that as much, but I was thinking of like my husband and his team of like, you got to be really careful. People perceive things very differently, but with us, I feel like it truly is at the center of what we do. It's critical to loving our
when I
team.
was still when I was still teaching, the principal of the school I was at would always give us a talk at the beginning of the year about how we needed to make our students a fan of us. He would say, make them a fan of you. And that's what came back for me when I was reading, especially like the part on 115 about the love magnet. You become a love magnet by loving your employees, your customers, your company, and your family. I know it sounds corny to talk about love in the business world, George, but she's right. All any of us really want is to be loved, and all your employers really want is your love. And that reminded me of Mr. Moses talking to us every year about make them a fan of you. And it's that idea of they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah.
That, and he would impress upon us that they're not going to care about your subject material if they don't care about you and they don't feel that you care about them. So I felt like that was an echo of what's being said here.
Yeah, absolutely. It was reminding me of Sunny, you did six figure systems last time. I'm doing it again and then kind of working on it with our team. So last night our training call was the onboarding of business builders. And I feel like this goes along a lot with it in the really asking a lot of questions because the more you know, the more you're able
Mhm.
to love. One of my big go-tos is the more you know about somebody, the less judgmental you are because you have compassion when you know people's stories and you are able to, I think, more easily meet them and love them
Where they are.
where they are.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so, Sunny,
Yeah, I wrote down that love needs to be nurtured. Dust on gold doesn't change the nature of gold. So you just really have to show them who they are. I loved that, knowing what some of the like most transformative kind of group things that I've done in Plexus was going through the strengths finders
Mhm.
and doing it with a large group of very like successful people in Plexus, and it's really easy, I think, to look left and right and be like, I am nothing like that person.
Yeah.
And they're so successful, that means I must not be. But then, like, when you really start to have somebody nurture your strengths and show you what you're good at, you're like, oh, like, I don't know. It turns something on for me in my brain that I have superpowers and they're different, And I think that's the loving people where they are and really showing them their own shine. It also reminded me of Brene Brown's marble jar.
Mhm.
Like when we love our team, when we love our people, the marble jar is, she was using this example on how we build trust with people. It's like your kids in their classrooms. You would get a marble in your jar, and then when you build your jar up enough, you get a party or whatever it is. Like when we were building little tiny marbles with people in their jar every time we show them that we love them, or we build trust in some like it's not always built in some happy frou-frou way. It's like made it through something hard. There's a marble in your jar. It's just showing people that you're there for them and you love them. It's a trust building sort of thing. So I think of it too as a marble jar. We're adding to people slowly. It
Mhm.
doesn't happen overnight, but it is a compounding sort of thing.
Yeah. I love that so much. so much. And I love your reminder of Strengths Finders because when our team was in a phase of growing very rapidly, we did that. And it was important because all of my senior rubies and above were all so different. And
Mhm.
it's so easy to compare until you do the Strengths Finders and figure out what people are good at and let them do that, right? Like I'm the
Mhm.
worst at ingredients and things like that, but we had somebody on our team that she's a physical therapist, but she loved ingredients. So any type of training or whatever, like her energy was lower, but her knowledge was remarkable and giving her a chance always to kind of step into that, you know, all that kind of stuff. I love that.
Mhm.
Anything else on chapter 26? Chapter 27 really is about the 5 ways to love your passengers. Um, this was just so good. Nothing really groundbreaking, but just good reminders, even in our own home, even in our families of making time and being present um, in the moment when you're talking to people that you are not, doing something else.
Mhm.
They say I've seen a lot of times where they say even if like if you're having lunch with somebody, even if your phone is on the table, even if it's upside down, it still takes away from how that person feels that you're paying attention. I know personally, when I am with somebody, there have been times when like something goes off on their Apple Watch and they pause while we're talking to read through it. And I'm like, and that, something fun that I know not everybody is doing, but all of my older kids have switched to wearing their Apple Watches only when they work out. They wear timepieces. All of my adult kids have gone back to wearing watches. And they said it's because their Apple Watches are distracting and they want to like be present. And so I've started to do that because I was like, yes, how many times do we look at our watch because the notification has popped up? Now we are not in it
Mhm.
anymore. Um, Listening, so really sitting down and listening with your heart and caring, recognizing them. I think 3 is really great with plexus and goes a lot along with like recognizing people for what their actions they're taking, their brave actions, not just for signing somebody new, but making posts for people that aren't comfortable making posts, reaching out to people. Anytime people are doing behavior that we would like to see them do more of, like recognizing that we know is really huge. Um, Serving them, I think in my mind, when you think of serving people like with plexus, that can really lead into really knowing their goals and helping them to reach their goals, helping them to map things out, helping them to, you know, set a set a pace. I was saying it last night, but if somebody comes to you and says, I want to go add 10 people this month, and yet so you're like, how many people are you reaching out to a day? And they're like, one, like it's serving them to be like, that's not gonna work. You gotta pick it up, like, just but knowing their goals and digging in, I think allows you to serve them more. And bringing out the best in them, creating a system that provides a way for your people to shine. Um, this also, I feel like leads a lot into like what we've learned with 6-figure systems of creating systems because it allows people to follow a system and not have the fear of like, what am I supposed to do? I don't know. What do you think, Sunny?
Yeah, I
Did you
mean
write anything
that.
down from that chapter?
Um, I did have some thoughts. Well, mostly it was back to the listening and hearing them and their needs. Um, well, but that kind of, sorry, my brain just had 10 zillion thoughts all at once, and none of them came out in any form of a sentence. It kind of goes back to emotional intelligence for me, which I think that was one of the previous chapters. But to active listen, you have to have enough emotional intelligence to realize that they're going to have a different experience than you. And when we are actively listening, it makes me think too of social work when we used to have to do process recordings where we would have an hour-long session with somebody and we had to, at the end of it, go back and write out word for word everything that I said and everything that they said back and forth for the entire hour, and I had to turn it in. And it really, when you do that, it really makes you realize, one, like where you need to be building skill. Because like if you're listening to respond, you're not hearing them. You're not hearing them. And so when we're working on plexus, um, like having it in your gut what your testimony is, so you're not sitting there stressing about what you're going to say next to them, or having it in your gut what weed seed feed is, so you don't even have to think about it. It just rolls off your tongue, right? It's like actively listening to people requires like a certain skill, but also just it takes a lot of brain power to actively listen to every word, and you don't realize how much you miss until you do a process recording and you're like, oh crap, like what did we do? What and it has so much to do with following facial expressions too and mannerisms and all of that is listening. It's not just the words. And so you can't look away or you miss something, right? Like being with them. Um anyway, so that's what I thought about.
Well, I feel like I would fail that assignment. That's so powerful though. And that reminds me of like the importance of Phil Jones of, what to say and knowing, it kind of like you talking about knowing the gut health and knowing like knowing all of that so that you're not so that you're listening and not trying to come up with what you're going to say. I think also knowing what the main objections are going to be when you're talking to somebody so that you already know how you're going to respond for the most part and that you're able to really hear them. I think goes right along with what you're saying of us
Mhm.
just being prepared for what most likely will come. That's awesome. That assignment sounds awful.
They were truly awful. It wasn't just one. It was like we had to do like 30 of them in like over the semester. Yeah,
That
it
sounds
was
horrible. Horrible,
uh,
but good for you.
social work hazing.
Yeah, yes. Good heavens. Chapter 28, Fear and Trust. Um, the only thing that I highlighted in this chapter was Chief Energy Officers overcome challenges by charging forward with trust and optimism. And really, I think that's, you know, just not being frozen by fear and just also knowing that I feel like I read this, but I mean, I've heard it lots before. I can't remember if it was in this chapter, but that even if the outcome isn't what you want, you will have learned something by going through it. And if you go through it with optimism and trust and just knowing, I can't guarantee the outcome, but I can guarantee that I'm going to learn something by going through it, which is way more than will happen if you don't take any action, if you don't do anything.
I feel like it goes without saying, and but also it doesn't because I think we are often waiting for fear to go away before we take an action. And that chapter, I feel like, was just fear with faith moves you to a resolve, whatever it is, to get to what you're looking for. You do it with the fear, not without it first. Um, and I think a lot of us get caught in not doing it because we're afraid of an outcome instead of doing it with the fear. Anyway.
Yeah, no, thank you for saying that because I, I didn't underline it, but at the end on 128, he says they don't call it a leap of fear. Like, and I don't know that fear goes away. 10 years in, I still get nervous when I message somebody about the business, asking them to do the business with me. I don't know if it will ever go away. It is less scary, maybe, but still, and that you just have to do it. You have to do it anyway. Um, Chapter 29, driving with purpose. Um, Sunny, did you take notes? I have some.
Uh, I mean, I just wrote drive with purpose, what's going to drive you after you succeed. So like what's the bigger thing? Because it can't be get to diamond. Like it cannot be get to emerald because what's gonna happen once you get there? Right? Like, I mean, I'm like the prime example of this. Like I feel like um if I'm not hanging on to the bigger purpose, then I'm like, well, I've made it. But it's like then you lose your purpose, your will, your drive, right? So like what's the bigger thing that keeps you going? What's the spirit behind what you do? And it can't be to get to Jewel. It cannot be that. It's got to be something bigger and more in order to keep you going after you hit the thing. Um, because once you hit it, I just remember hitting Emerald and being like, well, now what? Like, now what?
Same. I thought
Um,
my life was going to be so different. And it was more money, but I was like, oh, I'm still the same person. And I thought people would treat me differently. Like certain people, I'm like, no, nothing changed except for my paycheck. Nothing. And if that's the whole goal, and I think that has to come from the top, from those of us who have hit jewel rings to let people know, help them, like what is the purpose. I underlined, when you fuel up with purpose, you find the excitement in the mundane, the passion in the everyday, and the extraordinary in the ordinary. Purpose is what life is all about. Um, because it isn't a rank. I mean, when's the last time, Sunny, you introduced yourself at the grocery store? Hi, my name's Sunny. I'm a diamond, right? You
I
know,
thought it was funny.
and it means something, it means nothing to most people. Whereas, like yesterday, I saw a Facebook post of a girl I know who, whatever, she's hopped to 500 million different companies, and she just started in a new company and had posted one of her new girls, just went diamond. And I was like, what? Because I know she just launched last week. And then I was like, her second rank of diamond, and she's working to director. And in my mind, I'm like, I feel like diamond should be the top. Director should be, but it's because it means something different. And that's just shouldn't be what our purpose is, because nobody cares outside of the people at convention. Deanna, what were you going to say?
I was trying to figure out how to unmute myself. Sorry. Is this the chapter where he talks about the people building an airplane?
Nope.
Okay.
Are you
Then
saving your comment?
well, no. Okay, then I'll just say
Let's
because
say it.
like what Sunny was saying, if you don't have
Oh, wait,
the
wait.
bigger,
Yes,
oh,
you're
it
right.
is.
It is the last part where Marty gives him the little note about the people building the airplane.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm
And
sorry.
so if we know, like for ourselves and for our team, if we have this purpose that we're working towards, then everyone has a job and everyone has different things that they have their own purposes. But if you're really clear with that and you've said, okay, we are building this fastest ship and here's what it's going to look like. And here's how it's going to function and go. And everyone has a role in the production of this end goal, then they work faster, they're more efficient, they get to that goal. Whereas if you're just saying, yeah, we're just going to build this thing and we're all going to earn money, or what, if it's more vague, then everybody is, it's not as efficient. And you're butting heads and everyone has different ideas and different visions and those clash. And we've all had that experience in our businesses, I believe, and in life. And so, yeah. So I think if, like you said, Christy, nothing changed. You hit that rank and you're like, oh, well, it's just the same. Okay, so what am I doing? And so I liked that part at the end there. I wasn't sure what chapter because I just listened to the audio. I didn't have a physical book, but what a difference it makes when we have clear goals and expectations.
Absolutely. I read that part and I was thinking to myself, can you imagine the group was like, you all go build a different part of an airplane. It would have been like it would have been such a hodgepodge of whatever. And it makes me think, again, having a vision of what it looks like, and maybe the big rank is the vision that everybody's working towards, but what role are they playing and what are they trying to achieve? Like if one person on your team, they may only want to go gold. Perfect. Let's help them get gold and know that that's what they're going to contribute to the overall purpose of becoming a diamond team. Okay, we know this person wants to go senior ruby because we know what their big dreams are. And as we know the big dreams and purpose of each different person, we can plug them in to become the team that we want to become with people doing their different parts. If we sit back and go, okay, everybody wants to be a jewel. Well, everybody doesn't actually. Everybody, I think, would like the income, but everybody doesn't want to do the work and get uncomfortable enough to do that. And when you know people's real goals and passions and you know them really well, you could kind of know, and so you will can piece together a really good team of, okay, I got this many people that want to go gold and this many people that want to, you know, based on what they're doing it for. Do they just want to cover dance competition or do they want to be going to Disney twice a year with their family of five? You know?
Mhm. It also reminds me of, I think it was maybe Preston Pugmire, when I did his training, um, or somewhere along the lines, like to make it super easy to be successful. Your goal should be super easy to make it successful, or I don't know, like avoid ways to fail. Okay, I don't know if that's making sense, but what he was trying to say, or what I'm trying to say is, um, if your goal is to get to gold, then you're not going to feel good until you hit gold. But like you make it super easy to be successful along the way. But if your goal is to shine light into darkness, and along the way you will make it to gold, then everything that you do toward getting to gold can be shining light in the darkness. You're like, success, success, success. Like every time you do something that has that deeper purpose, then you're getting that hit of I hit a goal, right? Like so it's not just that thing, that marker. It's every time you do something, it fuels you with more purpose and drive to get you to the thing.
I love that. I love that so much. That's that's really awesome, Sunny.
It's
Um,
Sorry, y'all. It's
helpful.
it's Melanie. I'm walking, but I was just gonna say, when you said that, Sunny, it made me think of just focusing on the small wins and they compound, right? Like even doing, and I think celebrating people with everything you want to see more of. So just celebrating even the action, not the result necessarily. It's kind of what came to mind when you said that.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
even for ourselves, but also just always focusing on the deeper purpose, because I like to bring up a lot on vision calls more about like how Plexus is giving back and the philanthropy and diamonds, contributing toward, say, an orphanage in India and sex trafficking safe house in Thailand. And people love that. People want to be part of something bigger than themselves. And so I think casting that vision is so important beyond just the rank or hitting that income per month. So anyway, that was just something that came to mind I wanted to share.
Melanie, you can show us your face while you're walking, getting all your steps in,
Well, okay. I'm holding the phone and I'm like swinging
swinging.
it as I
You're gonna
walk.
make
Yeah.
us. She might
Or
make
I
us
would.
motion sick.
Yeah. I didn't want to make y'all have to like see the movement because I'm trying to walk as I talk. So
Thank you.
killing two birds with one stone.
You're killing it. Chapter 30, the team gets inspired. Um, did anybody have anything on that?
They were no longer just a company who brings light bulbs to market. And then there was like one, two, three, they were all working together for a bigger purpose. They're lighting up rooms. Um, they weren't just riding, they were behind it pushing. I wrote that down. Like they weren't just riding the bus. They were pushing the bus. And I think that's big too. Like we talk a lot in Plexus about rowing together and all that kind of stuff, but we like getting behind it and pushing it. Like we're gonna all do it together. I think that requires big belief and big inspiration in our bigger purpose as a company, and what we're doing and why we keep showing back up. Um, and I think doing this for a really long time, it's easy to lose sight of that. It's easy to, wane in positivity and encouragement. And so I just needed to be reminded of that. And I'm thinking back through um, early in the game when I feel like my team had a good, deep soul purpose behind why we were doing what we were doing. It wasn't just for a rank, it wasn't just for another cruise, right? Like, it was just soul level stuff. And I just feel like I need to get back to sharing that more.
I I am agree with you. I think they kind of touched in that in our jewel breakout session of like how when we've been in it for so long, we kind of just get apathetic to just everything, and we get a
Mhm.
little scorned because people we thought were going to be with us forever leave, and we forget what it's like to be afraid to share the products. We forget what it's like to, that worry of rejection or what are people going to think of us? Like we're so far past that we kind of lose empathy for new people. And that just, I mean, like Deanna and I's team, we named it Team Hope, and the hope stood for hope, but it actually stood for us helping other people everywhere. And I think kind of we've maybe gotten away from sharing that because we used to share that all the time. Like we're just here to help people to, and one of the things that we used to talk about all the time in our team is because we do have a lot of religious members on our team, and we would talk about, you know, anybody who is religious has had times when they maybe, we call it filling the spirit. And when you're sick and when you're exhausted, it's really hard to like just feel God's presence in your life. And so we used to talk a lot about our purpose of helping people feel better and have energy and not be exhausted so that they could draw closer in their spiritual life. And we used to talk about it all that time. And you just saying that, Sunny, reminded me that I can't remember the last time we've shared that with anybody. And that is not a fit. You and Sunny and I, we've had side chats about things. So it's not for everybody, but for a lot of people on our team, it is very, we have a ton of LDS members on our team. And so that spiritual aspect of it is super relevant. So would not be right for every team, and it's not right for everybody, but you just saying that, I'm repeating myself now, but reminds me to like go back to like what really were we doing? What was pushing us every day? Deanna?
I was just going to say, I mean, and I don't remember all the examples that he gave in the book, but the light bulb, yes, they did a light bulb. Yes, we have products. Yes, but those light bulbs mean different things to different people. A grandma can light the room so she can see her grandkids, a doctor so they can treat their patients. I mean, I can't remember all the examples that they gave. But, products for us, like you said, you can, it means different things to different people. And so your physical body being healthy and strong or in less pain, all of those things make it so they can be better parents, better speakers, better at whatever profession they do. And so, yeah, recognizing that the product or the thing that they're doing, like his company was doing, um, definitely has applications to literally everyone. So that's what I liked about that and what Sunny brought up too.
Yeah, and it's such a shift because in the very beginning, he's like, we're just creating a light bulb. And then by the end, I mean, he's sharing all of these things that the light bulb really does. I love that. Anybody else have any thoughts on that chapter 31, game day, where he finally has his presentation, which is the whole book has been getting him ready for it. Um, and in the beginning, it talks about how the executives there, they're just kind of waiting for him to fail. They know it's going to be his last day. They know he's been, slowly getting worse and worse. And, you know, if I'm being honest, like if my husband was the executive I was sitting before, he's looked at my Plexus business over the last year. And even though he said, hey, the family needs you more, you need to focus more on the family than your business. So my business has declined. Now, when I'm like, you know what? I'm ready to build again. I'm ready to go again. He looks at me and is like, can you though? Can you do it? Because you haven't. Um, And I feel kind of like George before the meeting. And I'm like, oh, what if I can't? What if I can't build a whole nother great team again? Because I haven't, because I have been sliding backwards. Um, and and just having um that the importance of our positivity overcoming all of the negativity, understanding that on 141 she talks about she says, who wouldn't be nervous? It's a sign of fear. We all have fear, but the key to success is that your trust is bigger than your fear. And a little fear is good, but it's weak energy and it runs out. Truth is a high octane fuel that will take your bus wherever it needs to go. And if we're too focused on what's stressing us, we're not going to be focused on what to be thankful for. I actually, in this, even though there's probably 400 signs at Hobby Lobby that said this, I'm like, I'm totally going to write on my dry erase board, too blessed to be stressed. Because I'm just in a phase of life where I'm super stressed right now. But when you feel blessed, and it reminds me to write down what I'm thankful for every day, you know? Um, and
I wrote down, will it matter in a month, a year, a week, in 3 hours? Like, will it really matter? If not, like maybe I'm stressing too much on the menial things. Um, like, and some of the things I'm stressing about will matter
yeah,
a lot,
yeah,
right? Like it will matter a lot. And that's like we can't I don't want to like say that and be like, just forget about it. Don't stress about things. Live life. I'm not okay with that. I'm not okay with just like living life here and everything's okay and everything's great. Like stress about the things need to be stressed about, but don't stress about the menial things, the things that truly will not matter in a week, or you'll forget what you were so stressed out about, right? Like have fun and enjoy the ride, and be more like Eddie, who's writing poetry and playing piano and traveling, and he's just doing the things, right? He's just too busy. I also wrote down reflect more, and it something, I can't read my own writing. Something about risk and taking chances. Something risk and take chances. Anyway, leave a legacy. I was talking to my husband about this the other night because he went to the 90th birthday party of a man who was very influential in his basically fraternity, you know, brothers. He was like a leader in that, right? And but there weren't people there that had many things to say about him. And he was like, I don't want that to be my legacy. Like, I don't want people to look back at my 90th birthday party and be like, yeah, he was always there. Great. Like, like, and then I'm like, okay, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? Not just thinking, what am I actually doing that's going to leave a legacy that people are going to look back on and be like, she made a difference because she did this, not because she sat around and thought a whole lot about all these things that are stressing her out, right? Like, what did she do?
yeah.
Yeah.
How did
Anyway,
she
I
impact?
love.
I think in our business we have such what you were talking about was one of the things that the old man said. It was number two. When they interviewed the 95-year-old people, and one of the things they all said was they would take more risks and chances. Life is too short not to go for it. That's the handwriting you probably could not read.
Right.
And they would have left a legacy, something that would live on after they die. And you saying that, I went to a funeral about a month ago, a friend's father, and multiple people that he had done business with, or he owned a business. He was not a professional pilot, but he had his pilot's license, so he flew a lot and he had a lot of pilot friends. And they spoke and they were all saying these fun, nice things about him. And it was a very casual funeral. It was at their farm outside, so it was not like at a church with his casket. It wasn't traditional. It was, guitar player. And at the end, the three kids said, one of the kids said, "Hey, Mom, why don't you come up and say something?" Because she hadn't spoken yet, the wife whose husband had passed. True story. She got up and said, "I am so glad to hear that you guys had all such great things to say about my husband and such good experiences, because none of that existed in our home. He did not treat us like that." And then her son took the microphone and he goes, "Truth, he never once said I love you to any of us." This is his funeral.
Oh, crap.
And I left that, and I had gone with my mother-in-law, who I haven't always had a great relationship with, but talking to her afterwards and being like, do not have, like, for your associates to like you more than your kids and your wife. How horrible. Horrible. And I was telling my husband about it. I'm like, if you continue to only chase money, that's the kind of funeral you will have. The people you worked with will know you better and like you more than the people you think you're earning money for, because you're not doing anything with them. You're not loving, not that he is, but he has his moments. And just that reminder, because we don't know when we're going to die. Honestly, I'd like to say, we'd all like to think we're going to live until 95 and our husbands will retire at 65 and then have 40 more years to be nice and wonderful and great and kind and do things. What if they don't? What if we don't? And so always working to leave a legacy, or to even have a clue. Also, I think you can't leave a legacy if you don't know what in the world how you're trying to impact or what you're trying to leave. I don't think a legacy happens accidentally.
Mhm.
You don't, sometimes I do think that you accidentally impact people. People come across your path, and I think you can accidentally impact people. But I think really trying to make an impact somewhere with some people. And it says it's not about your name on a building. It's kind of like Mitch Albom's book, The 5 People You Meet in Heaven, of like just the whole. Have you read that book? Have you guys read that book?
Mhm.
It's super short like this, and it's a fable, but guy dies and he gets to heaven, and the 5 people greeting him, I think 2 of them he knew, and he knew he had a relationship and he had helped change their life, but 3 he doesn't even remember meeting. But he did something in their life that changed the trajectory of their life. And they were there to greet him in heaven and be like, thank you. Thank you for, and he didn't know. And that sometimes takes us just getting our head out of our butt, right? How often now are we at the grocery store or at the airport and our headphones are in? And even if, like me, I'm listening to a book, I'm not scrolling or whatever, so it seems worthwhile, but I'm missing opportunities to see and serve others.
Mhm.
There's so many chances in life to bring joy, which is really what the end of the book about is bringing joy. So in case you didn't know, the presentation goes great. So that's good. Everybody's impressed. His team is behind him. They go celebrate. They have a big lunch. Everything is great. And then on 152, he says, life is a test. Every adversity helps us grow. Negative events and people teach us what we don't want so that we can focus our energy on what we do want. And the next time he's faced with a problem at work, think, what can I learn from this challenge? What is it teaching me? Then stay positive and trust that the lessons would make him stronger, wiser, and better. And I think that's so important to not get bogged down in, you know, the negative parts, but what is it teaching me? What has fallen back in points for me? What has it taught me? And what is it teaching me about how I want to grow this next phase? And then he really talks about allowing joy to just flow through him. Joy in his work, joy in his home, joy with his kids, just kind of trying to find joy in every moment. And then it's just the reminder of the whole ride. What do you guys think? Final thoughts? Did you go through the action plan? Who was shocked that he just, even though his car got fixed, he kept riding the bus? I wasn't.
I wasn't.
I wasn't.
I just left with the joy. He just wanted the joy to flow through, like flow through more joy, let the joy flow through all the things. I'm like, okay, I trying to wrap my brain around this with a real. You probably can hear her in there. I have a screaming new 3-year-old, right? She just turned 3. I'm like, how do I make myself feel the joy through the tantrum, right? Like, how do I find more of that instead of ending the day mentally exhausted from it? Can I not, like, how can I change my mindset around this stage of life that we're in and find more of the joy and let the joy flow through more than the frustration in getting hung up there. Um, anyway,
I don't
I
know.
really appreciated the book. I
I
really
think
appreciated
anybody who speaks on the terrible twos, my comment to that always was, you haven't had a 3-year-old yet.
it.
I always, with 4 kids, have always thought 3 was worse than 2. Terrible twos, I'm like, you haven't had a 3-year-old. Just wait.
Yeah.
I don't know how you find the joy. I think it's in the other things outside of motherhood. I think this is, you know, I think it's okay for that to suck for a minute.
Yeah.
Because having adults now, it doesn't. You
Mm,
don't even remember it. Like literally,
mhm.
you don't. It just all seemed like so fun. You look back and you're like, oh, they were so cute then. Look how fun it was. You don't even remember how exhausted and
Uh,
You're in the blink.
It's true. It's like, well,
yeah.
people, and I say this all the time to people too, and I'm always like, I remember hating when I heard it though, like when my kids, like newborn 2 and 4-year-old, when I started this business, it's like such a hard time, right? Like team no sleep, all the
Mhm.
diapers, all the things, I thought the 4-year-old would help bring me a diaper and they'd run off, like, so, but but I look back and she's right. Like, I look back at my Facebook memories and you only remember, like, oh my gosh, you're so precious. Like, look, and now you're a
Mhm.
teenager and you're talking back. So, I mean, I think we all have different phases, right, of parenting that can be
Mhm.
really challenging. Um, but I guess, we're always looking ahead, but sometimes I do wish I would have soaked it up more, right? Because you're now like, oh, if only I could have them for a day at 3 and appreciate it, compared to now.
Mhm.
Like, they're growing up so fast, they're about to leave the house, all that is, it's also so hard to like let them go, right? So different part
Mhm.
of definitely pulls at your emotions.
yeah.
I just keep reminding myself that being present in all of it is the only thing I can do. And so being present with the joy as it comes, and then being present with the frustration as it comes, because it's a part of it. And, just being in all of it and not blinking, right? Like just being present in it and marinating in it.
Well, and showing up for you and showing up for the things that do bring you joy or to take you apart, like we have just become owners of another business, and I'm literally sitting in this chair like 9, 10 hours a day working and Marco Poloing Deanna. I just try not to cry. It's so hard. And it's so hard. I don't know what I'm doing. And today I was like, oh, God, I just need to not even do book club. And then I was like, no, because I'm going to get off book club and be so happy. This is talking with you guys and seeing your faces and interacting. And then I'm going to get back into the grudge of property management, but with more joy. So just taking this hour and the hour before where I read the chapters was a 2 hour segment where now the rest of the day I will tackle that, which yesterday just had me wanting to cry all day. Like sometimes a 3-year-old might have you just wanting to cry all day. Taking those segments of like, okay, feel like I don't have time for this, but I'm going to do it because it makes me happy.
Right.
And so knowing and recognizing what brings you joy, even writing a list. When I used to coach people, I used to have them make a list of things that brought them joy that were free and things that brought them joy that cost money, because sometimes we don't have money to spend. So we need to have a list of things that make us happy, and we need to do it not when we're unhappy. Because it's when we're in the thick of things, we need to look at our list and go, okay, what can I do right now that's going to just make me a little more joyful?
Yep. Good stuff, guys.
That's why I like book clubs, because I think I can be like really guilty of not following through sometimes on, whatever, like I have ideas of reading this book and that book and that book, but when I know I have to show up at a meeting, it's kind of like going to the gym, right? I pay for my trainer, right? The accountability of the Pilates studio. It's like, because I pay, I play kind of thing. So I think also just that accountability piece, it helps me stay on track with that personal development, where sometimes you can be more motivated that way. So I love book clubs for that reason. So thank you for coordinating all of this.
And I just love chatting with other people about books.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So I've ordered the next book. Hasn't come yet, so I haven't broken out the chapters yet. But I think it's going to be similar size. I think we'll be able to fly through it. The second 7, what is it, Angie? 7 commitments?
Commitments.
You'd think I'd figure it out. Angie has answered that question for me on like 5 different calls. Thanks, Angie. My book is ordered. It'll be here today. And thank you guys for jumping on and just sharing your thoughts and letting me share my thoughts and bring me joy today. You guys are amazing. I'll talk to you later. See you next week.
Bye, you guys.
Bye, guys.